People come to hospitals for healing, but in rebel-held areas of Syria, they've now become places to die. On Monday, the O'Day hospital in Syria, southern Idlib, was bombed for the 4th time. On Tuesday, a bomb hit its medical warehouse too. 5 people are reported to have died, and all medical services have now been abandoned. Bereft of anywhere to treat them, Sarakeb's injured now have to be taken many miles north to the city of Idlib for treatment. But when they get to the central hospital, doctors there struggle to deal with the growing number of new arrivals, many of whom have injuries they are unable to treat, and patients are moved on yet again.
Since we cannot cope with most of the injuries that we have admitted to the hospital, we do indeed transfer them to the northern medical point. And what makes things a lot worse is that the fighter jet actually target ambulances and any cars suspected as belonging to the civil defense.
It is barbaric. The medical crews should not be attacked. We get bombed and shot at even after we collect the injured off the roads. We get hit with rockets and machine gun fire.
The destruction of hospitals hasn't just been happening in Idlib, but right across Syria. The New York-based campaign organisation Physicians for Human Rights claims there are 492 verified attacks on hospitals, mostly by Syrian government forces, since the war began. But the group claims that what amounts to a war on health is not confined to the bombing of hospitals.
Physicians for Human Rights has also documented the blocking of humanitarian aid, including deliberate stripping of medical supplies from humanitarian convoys. Just today, the UN came out asking the Russians, the Iranis, the Turkish authorities to push the Syrian government to allow for humanitarian aid. Apparently, the Syrian government hasn't authorized aid for the past 2 months.
The Syrian government has denied that it deliberately attacks hospitals or other civilian targets. But Physicians for Human Rights say they've documented 11 attacks on this one hospital alone in eastern Aleppo last year. Could a mistake be made that many times?
At this point, I think it's on them to prove that it's not deliberate. As we've documented attacks on healthcare facilities that are in remote areas where they really could not have wanted to hit anything else. As we've documented double tap attacks where the same facilities being hit as first responders are there, as ambulances are leaving with patients, as we're documenting attacks on hospitals that have been built into caves in order to protect them. I think there's a lot of circumstantial evidence to suggest that these are indeed targeted attacks.
It gave this accused.
International lawyer Jeffrey Nice led the entire prosecution case against Slobodan Milosevic. He insists nearly all governments know the coordinates of their hospitals, which will in any case have their roofs clearly marked. This, combined with increasingly sophisticated arms, makes repeated mistakes very improbable.
With modern weaponry, accurate strike is possible, and inaccurate, accidental non-strike may happen, I suppose, from time to time, but not 11 times. 11 times looks, does it not, like part of an intentional plan.
But Jeffrey Nice doubts that we're likely to see war crimes trials anytime soon, or other actions against Syria, thanks partly to Russia's much-used UN Security Council veto.
The world simply watches. No one responds. No one has helped us till now or stopped the bombardment. The situation is quite desperate. We need someone to hear our voice and to see what's happening here.
We've come a long way, it seems, since the heady, euphoric days of the Arab Spring 7 years ago, though not in the direction hoped for back then. Civil war in Syria has evolved into a regional sectarian conflict and has now been spreading even wider, so making a solution ever more complicated and difficult to find.